Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Kennard, Andrew Hall, Dr. Kennard. You can call me either one. So many stories to cover today. Dr. Kennard officially apologizes to Joe Rogan for the numerous sins the duck did to him. Fetal heartbeats, the new Texas law, 15 Miami-Dade school professionals, education professionals are dead due to COVID. And what really is the cost of extreme weather here in the States? It's a lot of money, and it's just going to be getting higher. I want to say good morning, everyone. This is Labor Day. Labor Day. I hope everyone's having a good Labor Day here in the States, where labor isn't really honored in any way, shape, or form. But hey, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's look at comedian Bo Burnham. He was asked a question about wokeness, and this is how he answered it, which is an intelligent answer, I feel. You decide.
I know that I examined the stuff I wrote 5, 6, 7 years ago with horror. Mm-hmm. I watched Friends reruns like everybody else, going like, were the 90s, did we really think this way in the 90s? I don't know. You know, like these, I will take the clunky social overcorrection of college kids over bigotry any day of the week, if that's the answer. Mm-hmm. Are 19 and 20-year-old kids, when they're reaching for their own values, going to not articulate themselves perfectly or slightly overreach sometimes? Sure. Yeah. But against the entire weight of history that they're pushing against, I probably sympathize with the former, right?
Yeah.
I hope everyone's doing well. I'm going to check out the chat. If this is your first time, this is a show that not only do I go over the news stories, pertinent, relevant news stories, but I also like to talk to people in the chat and see how they're doing. First person here was John Hudson. Hope you're doing well this morning, John Hudson. Dr. Mordecai Marcellus Jones. Good to see you. And you're right, John Hudson. There have been a lot of good episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience. When he had legitimate scientists on. Jessi Bear, good morning. Cryptameria. Tobin, hope you're doing well, Grand Farmer. My circumstances are appropriate to me, at least, I think. Tesla Ranger. Jess M, good day. Sammy, Jenkins, hope you're doing well. Dee Parks. Did I get everyone? I think I got everyone. Let's see, Jessi Bear. I got Bo Burnham. Because there are a lot of dudes who are my age, and typically they're dudes who get their testicles up in a roar over wokeness. And once again, the best response I've heard so far is from Bo Burnham. That, young people, and, I think I remember what it's like to be young and how when I was reaching for my own sense of morality that I did not articulate myself very well. And maybe even today, let's face it, it's difficult to articulate those things well to begin with. You just have to open up a philosophy book, maybe Hegel, and try to read a couple of paragraphs. And you'll see how difficult it is. All right. Before I start my official apology to Joe Rogan and his legions of fans, I don't really know if I pissed Joe off, which I doubt I have, but I feel like I've triggered his fans over the weekend, everyone. But before getting into that, let's do some memes. Memes. First meme, here we go. When you see it, you have to look. You see the idiot sign over to the left, the mask is not the cure, and then a child raising their finger in defiance of the idiocy. Why isn't there an award for that? For children pointing out the idiocy of adults? There should be. There should be some kind of award for that, everyone. Next meme. Boy, did I call it or what? George Orwell, of course, from 1984. If you haven't read it, it is necessary reading. And hold my beer. Margaret Atwood, author of The Handmaid's Tale. I will admit I have not read The Handmaid's Tale, though I nor seen the movie, but I am going through the series with my girlfriend right now. I believe it's on Hulu. The Handmaid's Tale. Oh, and you got to keep it light. You got to keep it light. There's a cat. I think that bird cage is going to be a piñata. And those birds are right. They shouldn't like the look of this. Piñata parents. That's right, that's the Ranger. Piñata parents. I'll tell you this. When my kids were young, whenever we would hold a birthday party for them, I'd always have a piñata because there's nothing funnier than watching kids, little kids, beat the crap out of piñata and then swarming in for the treats afterwards. Hilarious. All right, so occasionally, one of my little posts on my blog, Laughing in Disbelief, become popular. Even though they are labeled satire, even though there's a link in each and every post that says this is satire, and even though the name of the blog is Laughing in Disbelief, you would think people would recognize it as satire. And actually, when you look at the link, it actually gives the Oxford, I believe it's the Oxford Online Dictionary definition of satire. However, we can never underestimate the fragile emotional state of right-wingers and lunatics, everyone. When we get a vaccine against stupidity, you can only help to inoculate people. I was reading from the chat from Cryptameria. Says, when do we inoculate? When do we get a vaccine against stupidity? The best thing that we can do is to create a society where we mitigate, we lessen the horrible effects of our bad brains, everyone. That's the best thing that we could hope for. And hopefully inoculate our kids against stupid. So let's talk about the post I wrote this weekend. And this is going to be quick. This is part of the apology course of this. Joe Rogan loses Spotify deal and millions due to ivermectin. Let's take a look at the first panel. And this is what I wrote. Once again, a satirical piece. Comedian podcaster Joe Rogan lost his $100 million Spotify deal due to the stars admitting that he took the animal dewormer drug ivermectin. Mr. Rogan went to Instagram and told his millions of followers he contracted COVID and told them he took the drug the FDA warned against. It only took Spotify, the world's largest streaming service for music and podcasts, a few days to cancel his contract. Like most highly paid performers for Spotify, Joe Rogan had a morality clause in the agreement. Spotify CEO Andrew Kennard said, "It's clear he broke it when he engaged in such irresponsible and dangerous behavior. It's one thing to ignore the science and take a drug for livestock. It's another to publicly endorse it." Strong words from Dr. Kennard, everyone. Maybe this is less funny and maybe a bit on the nose because we're in a pandemic where hundreds of thousands of people are dead. And some people just like spreading misinformation. Next panel. Rogan's lawyers are planning to contest the matter in court. They're insisting their client didn't break any agreement because Mr. Rogan is in fact an idiot of legendary proportions. While his comedy is quite entertaining, it is clear that the comedian has only a tentative grasp on facts and the scientific method. Mr. Rogan agrees. I am a fucking moron. I'm a cage-fighting commentator. I am not a respectable source of information even for me. But I at least try to be honest about what I am saying, he said on air. Spotify and the courts are likely to agree with him, but the self-identified moron is still losing money and his contract. You have a large platform. People listen to you. Be a man and take some goddamn responsibility for your own actions, Andrew Kennard said. So that little post spread like wildfire. Not the most popular post I've ever written, but it did blow up rather quickly. and still being spread somewhat amongst the Joe Rogan sphere. And of course, you can expect the kind of responses. The defense, the apologetics of ivermectin. The apologetics of ivermectin are hilarious, ill-informed, and ill-conceived. I'm going to just touch base here in the chat for a second from what Sammy Jenkins said. When Andy's satire can be misconstrued for reality, that speaks more about reality than anything else. I would agree with that. I might be biased, though. I might be biased. So after seeing some of the comments on the blog and on Joe Rogan's page, fan page, because on Facebook, because of course the story got to Joe Rogan's fan page on Facebook. For those of you who don't know about Joe Rogan, he and Sam Harris have had I would say a friendship with each other for a while. Sam Harris has been on Rogan's podcast a number of times. And so I decided to double down. And the next day I wrote another satirical piece about Sam Harris slamming Joe Rogan for his irresponsible use or talk about ivermectin. And this is just a snippet from that post. What I don't understand, and this is me mouthing the word, me, right here, doing a poor imitation of how well Sam Harris can write. What I don't understand is how anyone who is as intelligent as Joe Rogan can fall under the sway of what amounts to snake oil salesman. It's as if a grifter from the 1850s time traveled to his door and told him the wonders of a health pill that works wonders, and without any due diligence, Joe not only bought cases of the stuff, but then told his fans to do the same. And if I have to make it any more obvious than the snake is Brett Weinstein and the oil is ivermectin. We are in a pandemic where people's lives are at stake. Joe's current and past statements about COVID puts me in the unenviable position to say I can no longer call him a friend. I can't say I'm praying for the day. What I can say is that I'm praying for the day when he becomes a responsible citizen of the world. What I can say, I hope he wakes up. Harsh words, everyone. Harsh words about Joe Rogan's. Because, if you don't know this, Joe Rogan did test positive for COVID because he was doing shows, of course. Now, the irresponsibility of Joe Rogan is many layers. You have to be like having a dig, like a archaeological dig, to see the levels of irresponsibility of this man about how he treats his platform. But wait, there's one. And all the links to this, to my two posts, are in the description, and also about how Joe Rogan did test positive over the weekend for COVID, and now he is supposedly cured. And then we're going to get to the real news, everyone. This is a real news story right here, but this is the most salient part. It is still unclear if Rogan was vaccinated, that is, when he got ivermectin. But earlier this year, he said on his show, I don't think that if you're young, a healthy person, that you need it. So once again, this is what Rogan said, I think it was back in April. And I'm going to restate this sentence. It is still unclear if Rogan was unvaccinated, but earlier this year, he said on his show, I don't think that if you're a young, healthy person, that you need it. Dr. Anthony Fauci later called that statement incorrect. The reason why, now this is just remedial biology for most of us. The reason why, it isn't just remedial biology, but it's about being a compassionate person in the world, right? I made a comment over the weekend. One of my friends on Facebook asked what I thought about Joe Rogan. I said he's a shitty skeptic, and he's a worse humanist. He fails on both accounts, everyone. Is there an apology somewhere here? There might be an apology. There's going to be an apology at the end. Dr. Anthony Fauci later called that statement incorrect. The reason why is you're talking about yourself in a vacuum, said Fauci. You're worried about getting infected and the likelihood that you're not going to get any symptoms, but you can get infected, and you will get infected if you put yourself at risk. The problem is, he continued, that even if you're young and healthy, But even if young, healthy people don't get very sick, you can inadvertently and innocently affect people who really could have a problem with a severe outcome. So we've gone over this story a million times here, but if you're infected and don't show any symptoms, you could still spread the disease. That's why you wear a mask. That's why you get vaccinated. Now, Rogan is happy to say that he took ivermectin. What he's not saying is whether or not he got vaccinated. And that's fucking irresponsible, especially when you have millions of people following you. Now, look, everyone, I understand that being an entertainer means drawing attention to yourself, and sometimes in some extreme ways of drawing attention to yourself. But the thing is, when you make your bread and butter from being dangerous to people, when you're causing harm during a pandemic, that is just being a shit. And if I am going to apologize, I'm going to apologize to the fact that I'm going to apologize for Joe Rogan, because sometimes, hopefully, people do change their minds and they realize what kind of shit people they are. Hopefully, in a few, who knows when, Joe Rogan's going to wake up and he's going to realize what kind of shit person he was for doing the things, for saying the things, for being a bad example, and making the world a less safe place for his children. And what kind of fucking father does that? All right. I think I'm going to get to the next story, everyone. But first, I'm going to check out the chat first. Oh, man. All right. BigZebra.com. Maybe we need to test other dewormers on celebrities just to see if they work. Indeed. Indeed. You know, and the thing is about that post I wrote about Sam Harris, I put in links because Sam Harris did what he considered to be a PSA, right? A public service announcement about ivermectin and about the pandemic. And it's about an hour or so conversation that he had with a, I believe, microbiologist. I'm not sure off the top of my head. But they went through the non-research about ivermectin's use. And it's definitely worth listening to. Joe said that he took antibiotics too. I'm like, it's not a bacteria, you idiot. Let's just rip apart your insides while you have COVID, and that's great to get sicker. Yeah, right. You know, yeah, it's so wrong on so many levels. You know, Reverend Jimmy, I completely forgot to say, because I got so agitated about Joe Rogan's knucklehead band of Lost Boys, right? That Skids the Clown, Trent Steer, is coming on the show. I have a video, had an interview with him with Jack Maturko, the great Jack Maturko. I'm dropping that video tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to see ours, and we talk a lot about clowns. We talked a bit about atheism, but we talked a lot about clowns, the physics of clowns, the culture of clowns. Skid Soul is a great story, a crazy story about being a clown. It's definitely worth checking out at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's not a live show because my buddy Jack is actually flying in tonight. And so we didn't really have a chance to do a live show, but the show's dropping at 8 p.m. Eastern. Hey, the girlfriend's here. Not only that, Jessi Bear, but taking antibiotics when you don't need them just makes super bugs. There's so many levels of irresponsibility going on with Joe Rogan and ivermectin, and his attitude towards health. All right, I think we can. I think we can get one more from Grandfather. One more. Feel sick, take super drugs. Who cares if they are effective for what they're making you sick? Because they are super. That's right, Grant. It's like a 5-year-old. No, not even a 5-year-old. Well, okay, a 5-year-old would just think, well, hey, you know, if it's super, then it has to be good, right? If it works against one thing, it has to work about everything. All right. I'm gonna let this go. I'm gonna let the Joe Rogan thing go. And now let's talk about real news. All right. I'm going to jumble all this up. I have the news story set up, but I believe that this is an appropriate follow-up story to the Joe Rogan apology. 15 Miami-Dade public school members die of COVID in just 10 days. Once again, 15 Miami-Dade public school staff members die of COVID in just 10 days. If you were here and heard my conversation with Bertha Vasquez, who is the head of TIES, the Teachers Institute for Evolutionary Studies. She is a teacher in Miami-Dade. It was a good conversation. She talked about her experiences teaching in the age of COVID. This story from her school district, from the school district she works in. How many? 15 Miami dead from COVID in just 10 days. Here we go. A 30-year teaching veteran was one of 15 Miami-Dade County school staff members who died of COVID-19 in just 10 days as Florida continues to reel amid the continuing, overwhelming toll of an unfettered pandemic. It's a tremendous loss, said a school official, referring to the death of longtime teacher Abe Coleman, 55, earlier this week. The number of lives that he impacted are countless. So many young men that had the benefit of him intervening in their lives and pointing them in the right direction. Marcus Sprite, who works with local education program 5,000 Role Models of Excellence, told NBC6 TV. Now, I don't think this fellow here who died, Abe, right? Abe Coleman, it doesn't say anything like he went on social media and blasted COVID. It doesn't seem like he was a very aggressive anti-vaxxer. He may have just been someone who was a victim of misinformation. That's how it strikes me, that this person who dedicated his life to helping others was a victim of disinformation. Andy, microphone says, you said you weren't going to be talking about Joe Rogan anymore. I'm sorry, microphone, when I get worked up, it gets very difficult for me not to talk about the things I get angry about. Next panel, everyone. Republican fucking Ron DeSantis, who has dismissed the importance of COVID-19 vaccinations and signed an executive order banning mask mandates at schools, issued no comment on the astounding death rate in the county school system. The state health department was sued earlier this week by the Florida Center for Government Accountability and Democratic State Rep. Carlos Guillermo, I'm butchering that name, Smith, for not providing detailed daily statistics about Florida's surge in COVID-19 cases in violation of the state's open record laws. The suit argues that DeSantis administration is deliberately manipulating COVID-19 data to make it appear the problem is not as dire as it actually is. Of course, all those dead professionals in the school systems, I think it's difficult to hide those numbers. Here we go. The DeSantis administration has consistently refused to release COVID-related public records, which not only hurts our efforts to contain this deadly virus, it's also unlawful, Smith said in a statement after the suit has filed. That's why we're suing them, to obtain the public records our constituents are entitled to under a Florida Constitution and force the state to resume daily COVID dashboard reporting and avoid future litigation on this matter. Oh, one more panel. Florida is in the grip of the deadliest wave of COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic. As of mid-August, the state was averaging 244 deaths a day, eclipsing the previous peak of 227 a year ago. Eclipsing the previous peak. That is greater. Doing my maths here in my brain, the state reported 2,345 deaths and over 129,000 cases this week. Hospitals had to rent refrigerated units to store bodies. The number of people hospital with COVID-19, however, eased slightly over the 2 weeks from 17,000 to 14,200. And yet Joe Rogan still isn't telling people whether or not he got vaccinated. It sounds like that other douchebag. Who was it? Was it that President Trump? Was it President Trump who got vaccinated? Didn't tell anyone. He didn't tell anyone for quite a while, just out of, personal gains. Oh, wow. All right. Halftime Tommy Rub Show. This show lasts until about 5 minutes of 10, everyone. You probably already know that. Please hit the like button if you found any value to what I do here on this channel. Please subscribe to the channel. And you know what? No fucking ads. There are no fucking ads on this channel. So, if you got the money, please throw in a shekel or two, a dollar or two, a penny or two, become a YouTube member, become a patron. I got my PayPal information down there in the description. But if you don't, then save your money. Save your money and use it for something important, right? All right. Let's do the halftime Tommy Rub Show. Let's do something funny. This is more weird funny than just funny.
What do you want? Happy brain chemicals, that's all I want. Where do I order it? At this shitty restaurant. Happy brain chemicals, that's all I need. I'm a white shirt, my mental health is a nosebleed.
I understand that's why you really come here, everyone. Not to be aware of what's going on in the news, but for the weird videos. That's why. Checking out the chat one more time before we get to, I don't know, man. What are we going to do? Fetal heartbeats or extreme weather costs? I don't know. It's a tough one. BigZebra.com, off topic. I'm enjoying reports of people trolling Texas abortion tip hotline. The tip hotline is supposedly down, right? Because GoDaddy got so much traffic. The host, GoDaddy, said it's not going to be hosting the Texas tip hotline anymore. And of course, that hotline was there so people could dine on anyone who had anything to do with helping a woman get an abortion after 6 weeks. But we're going to get to that fetal heartbeat, the science behind it. All right. That was weird. Maybe the nosebleed one, right? There's weird and then there's weird. Let's do, I'm going to go with extreme weather, to tell you the truth. I'm just throwing all these stories all over the place. They're not in order. There's a lovely graph here, too, everyone. You like graphs? I like graphs. Extreme weather cost U.S. taxpayers $99 billion last year, and it's getting worse. Who would expect that to happen? Who would expect that extreme weather is costing U.S. taxpayers $99 billion last year, and it's getting worse? Link in the description. This is an insanely long article, everyone. But this is a trend, and extreme weather costing taxpayers money. This is the thing. When you're spending money, and I'm not an economist, I don't play one on TV. I certainly don't play one on YouTube. But if you're spending money on one thing, like responding to extreme weather conditions, then you have less money to spend on education, on public health, on all of these things. And that's why it looks like if you're here in the States, we're all going to get screwed one way or the other. Well, except if you're the 1%, because of climate change, because of climate crisis. Let's look at the panel. The sixth assessment report from the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, released on August 9, 2021, paints a dire picture of climate change, with the UN chief referring to its findings as a code red for humanity. The report, which was written by 234 scientists and reviews thousands of existing scientific studies on climate change, states that it is unequivocal that humans are responsible for climate change, and what's more, that the increasing frequency and severity of specific extreme weather events can be attributed to climate change with a high degree of certainty. I promised you a graph. I will deliver a graph now. Average costs associated with extreme weather events in the U.S. have increased steadily since 1980. And yes, for those of you who are smarties, it's more than inflation. There is just more money in whole dollar, in like real time, in real dollars, everyone. And you can just take a look at it. This chart right here, it's from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. You can see I cite my sources as much as humanly possible here on the show. And who knows where that's going to top out. We saw footage on the show just the other day about the flooding that's going on in New York City and Philadelphia, right? So it isn't just the damage being done by the floods that we're going to have to pay for. We're going to have to pay for seawalls. We're going to have to pay for expanding deltas to help protect cities like New Orleans, right? From storm surges, from hurricanes. It's an insane amount of money, and it's going to drag the rest of the economy down, and it's going to negatively affect the welfare for all of us. I'm going to show the chart one more time before we go to the next panel. I'm going to check out the chat while we do it. How's that? Remember, Sammy Jenkins says, I come for the happy brain chemicals. Well, if I can do that, then I am happy. Job done for me. All right, going back in. Here's the next panel. And 2021 is following the same trend and already looks to be more devastating than previous years. For starters, this past June was the hottest June on record across the U.S. And this past July was the hottest July worldwide, with recorded data from a little more than halfway through the calendar year. The U.S. has already experienced 8 extreme weather events with costs greater than $1 billion each. The continental U.S. is still in hurricane season, and wildfires exacerbated by droughts are raging in the western states. For example, the Dixie Fire has been burning since July 13th and has consumed nearly 725,000 acres in California, making it the second largest wildfire in state history. Its costs are not yet calculated, but they will no doubt cause further significant economic impacts and damage to communities and livelihoods. Well, there you go. Got through that story pretty fast. You want to talk about heartbeats? Or is there another COVID story here to be told? There is. I got a video to show you all. And we've been talking about how healthcare workers are being emotionally hit, psychologically affected by the pandemic. 20 months in we are, 20 months in. And we've seen nurses, medical staff quit their jobs, just leave the field. And this video that I'm going to be showing you, I think it's from Reuters, just shows what we have been talking about. Delta surge heaps fresh trauma on healthcare workers. That's the name of this video. And it is from Reuters, and let's take a look at it.
This year, I've definitely put a lot more people in body bags than I would like to in my whole lifetime.
A recent surge in COVID cases and deaths is once again straining the healthcare system in parts of the United States, and it's taking an emotional toll on frontline hospital workers.
We're all tired. We all just try to take care of each other.
In video provided by the Maine Medical Center, ICU nurses said they used to treat elderly patients or those with pre-existing conditions at the height of the pandemic, but now they're treating the unvaccinated in this most recent surge.
We come to work every day,
Good?
and we know it's going to be a hard day. Every day is going to be a hard day. I'm just anxious about what the day is going to bring. What's going to happen? Who's going to die?
These nurses in Portland, Maine say the strain of dealing with so many critically ill or dying patients can sometimes be too much. Meanwhile, some other healthcare workers in the U.S. who treat COVID patients have reported struggling with something common to many military veterans, post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. Reuters spoke to around half a dozen ICU staffers who experienced symptoms such as nightmares bathed in sweat, flashbacks to dying patients during the pandemic's fear-filled early days, flaring anger, and panic at the sound of medical alarms. Those whose symptoms last longer than 1 month and are severe enough to interfere with daily life can be diagnosed with PTSD. The surging Delta variant is heaping on fresh trauma as the United States and other nations begin to study PTSD in health workers. One hospital nurse told Reuters many of the emotions that first emerged during the worst of the pandemic are coming back, and another said there's no option but to just, quote, deal with it.
It's time to help people
Well, there you go. We're going to be seeing probably more like scientific studies, sociological studies down the line about how the pandemic is affecting the well-being of healthcare workers. Microphone is wondering whether or not I'm going to talk about Joe Rogan's irresponsibility about how if you have a large platform or if you have any platform whatsoever on social media, then you should just be talking about the needs for getting vaccinated and for mask use. Now, you don't have to dedicate most of your show to this, but what you should be doing, and yeah, I'm going to should, is just providing disinformation. Is this a rant? Is this like a mandatory fuck you to Joe Rogan and fuck you to his fans? You know, not too much to his fans, because his fans have probably been victimized by their leader and by the talking heads of the anti-science movement right there. All right. Yes, Mu is, of course, the new variant. Grant Farmer mentioned Mu. It is officially, I believe, who is who? The World Health Organization. I believe that is a variant of interest, but not a variant of concern. So the World Health Organization is taking a look at Mu, but it hasn't yet leveled up to the point that it is something that they're concerned. Oh, concerned like, oh my God, this is dangerous. Oh my fictitious God, this is dangerous. Check out the chat one more time before going back into the next story. Oh, don't. Rogan promoting Alex Jones is unforgivable. Give Joe shit all day. Yeah, thank you, Sammy. Funny thing about when Skids the Clown was on, right? When Skids was on, Trent was on, Jimmy's co-host. It was right when the story broke about Joe Rogan. It was right when the story broke about him having COVID, and I got to share that with my co-host Jack Paterco as well as Trent. And you'll see it in the video tonight at 8 p.m. everyone. Okay. Don't get focused on Joe Rogan. I need to spend you can spend the next 20 minutes talking about Rogan, but I'm not. See, this is personal growth, everyone. All right. So what is Texas abortion ban hinges on fetal heartbeat? Doctors call that misleading. Texas abortion law that went into effect this week, well, that was last week, a physician may not knowingly perform or induce an abortion on a pregnant woman if the physician detected a fetal heartbeat for the unborn child. The new law defines fetal heartbeat as cardiac activity or the steady and repetitive rhythmic contraction of the fetal heart within the gestation sac, and claims that the pregnant woman could use that signal to determine the likelihood of her unborn child surviving to full-term birth. But the medical-sounding term fetal heartbeat is being used in this law and others like it in a misleading way, say physicians who specialize in reproductive health. I'm sure that we are all surprised that evangelicals in the GOP would play loose with the language to get their political ends. Next panel. When I use a stethoscope to listen to an adult patient's heart, the sound that I'm hearing is caused by the opening and closing of cardiac valves, said Dr. Verma, an OB-GYN who specializes in abortion care and works at the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. The sound generated by an ultrasound in very early pregnancy is quite different, she says. At 6 weeks of gestation, those valves don't exist, she explains. The flickering that we're seeing on the ultrasound that early in the development of the pregnancy is actually electrical activity. And the sound you hear is actually manufactured by the ultrasound machine Second verse, same as the first. I'm going to read it again. At 6 weeks of gestation, those valves don't exist, she explains. The flickering that we're seeing on the ultrasound that early in the development of the pregnancy is actual electrical activity. And the sound that you hear is actually manufactured by the ultrasound machine. Let that bathe in your frontal lobes for a couple of seconds, everyone. That's why the term fetal heartbeat is particularly misleading, says Dr. Jennifer Kearns, an OBGYN and associate professor at the University of California in San Francisco. What we're really detecting is a grouping of cells that are initiating some electrical activity, she explains. In no way is this detecting a functioning cardiovascular system or a functioning heart. In no way is this detecting a functional cardiovascular system or a functional heart. See, that's important. That's a little bit of knowledge bomb right there. A few knowledge bombs. Next panel. Kearns asked that health providers might use the term fetal heartbeat in conversations with heartbeats during this early stage of pregnancy, but it's not actually a clinical term. This is a term that is not widely used in medicine, Kearns says. I think this is an example of where we can sometimes try to translate medical lingo in a way that patients can understand. And this is a really unfortunate side effect of this type of translation. You're just going to confuse people if you don't use precise language. Under the Texas law, women have to know they are pregnant very quickly. 6 weeks is just not enough time. In reality, it would be really hard for a woman to know she's pregnant before the point at which cardiac activity would be detectable by an ultrasound. She would have to be tracking her periods carefully, have regular periods, notice her period was late, and then be able to get an appointment with her doctor to confirm her pregnancy. Periods vary in length, and this is some basic remedial education for the dudes out there. It can be normal from 21 to 42 days, Kaplan says, adding that late periods can happen for many reasons, some of which have nothing to do with being pregnant. It can be because of stress. It can be because it changes. It can be because of changes in sleep, changes in weight, travel. All of those things can do it. We actually aggressively counsel women they shouldn't be panicked about being a week or two late. Is there more? Oh, there's more. The way pregnancies are clinically dated is not intuitive and causes people to misunderstand the real impact of these laws, says Verma. I actually did research around the general public understanding of 6 weeks, she says. A lot of people thought that 6 weeks referred to the period a lot of people thought 6 weeks referred to the 6 weeks from your first missed period, but it's actually 6 weeks from your last period. I gotta say that again. A lot of people thought that 6 weeks referred to 6 weeks from your first missed period, but it's actually 6 weeks from your last period. Roll that around in your cerebrum, everyone. It isn't 6 weeks from your first missed period, but it's actually 6 weeks from your last period. 6 weeks is not enough time, she adds. If someone has regular periods, they have a period every month. At the same time, that means that once they miss a period, that's just 2 or more weeks. I'm sorry, I'm going to rephrase that because the anger has just gotten to my brain. 6 weeks is just not enough time, she adds. If someone has regular periods, they have a period every month at the same time. That means that once they miss a period, that's just 2 more weeks until they're considered 6 weeks pregnant. Texas, doing everything wrong. How can you do everything wrong, Texas? They try really hard, everyone. They try really hard. What's up, Captain Humanist? Jessi Bear says, using the logic of I don't like it, make it illegal. I say let's make Viagra illegal because it upsets me to think old men getting laid. Oh, it does. It does. It does. Believe me. Yeah, I agree. Sure. Don't give them ideas. Thank you. I see the hashtag Tessa Ranger. Soon they won't even need an ultrasound. They'll just need a recording of our heartbeat. That's right, Tessa Ranger. Because if there's one thing we know, is that there are liars for Jesus out there. And probably the most prominent people that we see about evangelical Christianity are liars for Jesus. All right. I think that we covered so much today, everyone. What did we cover? Dr. Kennard apologizing for Joe Rogan's idiocy, right? Strong words from Dr. Kennard, everyone. Links are in the description. We just covered fetal heartbeats and what that really means and what 6 weeks actually means in the Texas law. 15 Miami-Dade education professionals within 10 days. We talked about that. Extreme weather events and how much they're actually costing our country. And you know, the thing is, I just want to, and there's a lot of smarties, a lot of people much smarter than I am in the chat. The thing is, it's affecting the United States of America, right? And we can pay for it, kind of, sort of. But there are many countries, poor countries, countries that are just trying to become not poor countries, who cannot pay for this. The Defense Department in the United States already labeled the climate crisis as a issue that they have to be aware of, because how it affects migration, how it affects militancy, how it can affect states that are teetering. Deep sigh, everyone. Deep sigh. So there's the after party after show at 10 o'clock. There's links to the panel below. We can talk about it. We can talk about whatever you want on the after party after show. I know here in the States it's Labor Day. I don't know who's going to show up. I'm going to be there. I'm going to do a funny video.
If I'm going to die where I am, I may as well just go over towards the lake.
Okay, so this isn't really a funny video. This is more of a video about Bill Murray just talking and dropping some wisdom down. And maybe in these dark days, we need some wisdom like that, everyone. So here we go. We'll take it from the top.
If I'm going to die where I am, I may as well just go over towards the lake, and maybe I'll float for a while after I'm dead. So I walked over towards the lake, and as I got there, I realized I'd hit Michigan Avenue, and I ended up in front of the Art Institute of Chicago. And I walked in, and there's a painting there, and I don't even know who painted it, but I think it's called the Song of the Lark, and it's a woman working in a field, and there's a sunrise behind her. And I've always loved this painting, and I saw it that day, and I just thought, well, look, there's a girl who doesn't have a whole lot of prospects, but the sun's coming up anyway, and she's got another chance at it. So I think that gave me some sort of feeling that I too am a person and get another chance every day the sun comes up.
Thank you, everyone who is watching or who will be watching this video. Thank you, chat. I'm going to drop the thank you video for YouTube members and patrons. And I'll see you at 10 o'clock, hopefully. Oh, no show tomorrow, once again. I know this is, maybe some of you already clocked up, but there's no show tomorrow. No show. No show, no first show, no second show, no show. I'm taking the day off. My buddy Jack Matarko is flying in late. We're doing breakfast. We're hanging out. And so no show tomorrow. I may take a bit from my conversation with Dr. Josh about how important scientific consensus is and drop it down at that time, because as we're fighting disinformation and idiocy, I thought just taking that snippet from my conversation with Dr. Josh about the scientific consensus and the scholarly consensus and how important that is, taking a clip of that and dropping it down tomorrow. But yeah, there's no show tomorrow, but there is a show at 10 a.m., like right in 10 minutes. All right, thank you, subscribers. Thank you, YouTube members. Thank you, patrons. I don't know what I'm doing. Am I voguing? I don't know. I'll see you later.